3, 2, 1. Boom, baby, and we're live. Welcome to the ECOM Profit Podcast. I am your host, Laz Chavez, and today I'm accompanied by two service members here. We got Josh.
C'est moi.
And we got Johnny.
Hi.
If you guys don't know, behind the scenes, these are the guys, content creators here at the Ecom Profit headquarters. What's up, guys? How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're ready to talk about some artsy stuff with you guys today.
Ooh. So we're talking about business movie. We're gonna be talking about the founder. We also got Ish in here. He's sitting down in the beanbags getting some content, hopefully.
Right there.
That social media guy over there. You don't see him in the cameras, but he's in there. They see you. No, they've seen you. You post on the stories all the time. You're always hacking the accounts and whatnot.
Yeah. Hey, man.
So, they see you. Yeah.
Keep doing what you do, bro. Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing that issue, dude. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about the founder today. Josh.
In order to set that context, so like the audience knows, I made them watch a series of movies that are considered like, business movies. They have a lot of like themes about money, entrepreneurship, all that stuff. So I made them react to a couple of videos. And what did you think about them first before we started?
So the only one I've actually watched from the ones that, I saw the clips from the ones that we did the YouTube video on. So if you guys haven't seen that, we'll probably link that somewhere in this video, so you guys can check out the reacting part 1, because there's a part 2 coming up on Friday. But we reacted to some movies. I think this first one was Wolf of Wall Street, American Psycho,
Glenn Ross. That always gets me.
American Psycho and Glenn
Ross.
tongue twister movie.
Yeah.
We reacted to those, and I mean, it was interesting. I the only one that I had actually seen beforehand was Wolf of Wall Street, and I
haven't seen American Psycho?
No, never.
Oh,
So, no.
It's embroidery.
But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of like ecom like guru people who are like secretly mass murderers who are like who do those morning routine shit, and they're just like to a T.
I was telling Josh, this guy's a little weird, but
that wasn't the weirdest. I showed you a clip about business cards, but there's like when the movie literally just starts, there's a shower scene with him. He wakes up, he has like this procedure. He's like, I wake up and I meditate. I meditate for 10.5 minutes, and then I go take a shower, and then I use like hibiscus tea to scrub on my like super specific, meticulous things. Yeah, that's like pretty psycho.
I know somebody had a video. I'm not sure if it was like an ecom guy or like this like bodybuilding dude.
It's a motivational, no?
Oh, that Kino Body guy.
Yeah, that it was like based on like on yeah, it was pretty funny.
Kino Body, I think. But yeah, I thought, I mean, it was eye-opening. You know what? After I saw those clips, so I didn't tell you guys this. After I saw the clips, one of the clips on part 2 is Jerry Maguire. I actually saw the movie the other day.
You did?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I liked it. It's like one of those like feel good, like heartwarming, like at the end you feel like so good for the guy type movies. It was really good. But yeah, I actually saw that one, and it was because you guys told me about it. And I also saw The Founder, which you guys highly recommended. Yeah, I thought it was a great movie as well. But I think we should just dive into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
See kind of your perspective on the movie, because I think you guys would have a very different perspective than I would. And then we'll go from there.
I even wrote some things down, so we're good to talk.
All right. So what did you write down, Josh? If you want, we can get started with you. And Josh, guys, Josh is like, he's like into like film, and like he's into like all that, like how the movie looks and the aesthetics and all that stuff. So I feel like your perspective is going to be like very in the creative side of the movie. So
cinematography, all that stuff. Well, I mean, what I wanted to bring up to see, like, so we can have differing opinions here in the sense of being curious, because in the movie he has to like, find a way how to use McDonald's to market it in a way that's going to be super, super popular. So in your perspective, how did he do that?
How do you market McDonald's to be super popular? Well, I think he didn't necessarily I mean, he did do marketing, but I think necessarily where his stroke of genius came in was that he was able to partner with something that was already working, and he just took off and ran with it. He didn't like, it wasn't like an original idea. He just saw something that was working. He realized the need and like the issues that all the competitors were having, and he's like, I can take this and I can run with it. And that's what he did. So he just got something that was working really well. And for those of you who haven't seen the movie, I guess spoiler alert, because we're going to be discussing the movie throughout this.
Sort of, because it's McDonald's.
It's McDonald's. It's like the true story. So spoiler alert, kind of. You kind of already know how that story ends. But in the movie, they go over, you know, at the beginning, he's trying to sell like shake makers, like milkshake makers, and he's having a really tough time. And he's like going to all these like drive-in fast food places, and he like, they get his food wrong. It takes forever for him to get his food. Like the customers, he sees that it's always like a mess. It's always dirty. The clientele that the place attracts is not, you know, not the best clientele. It's just like young people, and like they're just sitting around, like just moping, not even like doing like not even paying for like stuff, you know. So they're just taking up space. And then he gets an order from the McDonald's brothers saying that they need like 8 milkshake mixers, and he's like, he thinks that it's like a mistake, right? So he calls them up, and they're like, no, yeah, we need them. When can you get it to us? So he's like kind of curious. He's like, oh, what the hell are these guys doing that they're like, they need so many milkshake mixers? So he goes and sees it for himself, and what he realizes is he makes the line. The line is a huge line, and then the lady like behind him, she's like, oh, don't worry, it moves really quick. And he's like, oh, well, like, this is weird. I'm making a line. I'm used to sitting in my car. So he makes a line. He goes to the front, and then he sees, and he's like, oh, they only have like 3 things on the menu, like burgers, fries, and like a drink. Shakes, yeah. He's like, okay, so I guess I'll have a burger, fries, and shake. And as soon as he orders and he pays, like they automatically give him his food, and he's like, oh, like, how did you? Yeah. He's like dumbfounded. He's like, how the hell did you just make this? Like, and he's like, and then he eats it, and he's like, wow, like this is actually like a great burger. Like, what are they doing? And then the brothers, they're nice enough to show him around like the process, like how they did it. And he's like blown away by everything. So he like digs deeper, and he's like, guys, I want to like know your story, because what you guys are doing is incredible. Like they have a line out the door, a bunch of people ordering, like their business looks like really successful. And the way that everything's set up is like very meticulous, very like detail oriented. Everything's like, you know, like how much time the fries have to be on the grill, on the fryer, how long it takes them to flip. It's like a
system. It's like down to the T.
They have the perfect system, right? So then he's dumbfounded. He's like, oh, how did you guys create this? So they go through the entire story, and I think he's just like really blown away by that. And it makes him want to partner up with these guys, because obviously these guys have something that's like really successful, and he sees like an opportunity to, you know, get in on the action, and maybe help them in ways that, you know, they can't do it. So he's like, guys, you know, you guys should franchise, you guys should expand. Like, why haven't you guys done it? And they're like, oh yeah, we've actually tried, but the quality control hasn't, you know, it's been really bad. Like different like places have put in like different like this, instead of selling just burgers, they're selling like fried chicken, and they're selling like corn on the cob, and
putting random like menu items just.
And then they're just like, oh yeah, we've tried franchising before, but we always run into the same issues. So he kind of like takes it upon himself. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'll figure it out, whatever. And that's where like he kind of just hits the ground running. Obviously, like he runs into some issues, but just by using their system, they're already attracting clients. I feel like we're just going through the entire movie.
The whole synopsis of the movie.
I feel like basically what he did was like he just went into like a profitable like ad account and scaled that shit. He just went in.
That's actually the perfect like the perfect example. He went into this, like these guys are like not necessarily noobs, but they're like somebody who like just started e-commerce, maybe like they're like a year in, and they finally started getting ads to become profitable, and they're like, oh yeah, look at these ads, like, you know, they're profitable, I'm making like $200 a day. And then like some expert guy or somebody who has a lot of like experience like in the field comes in and is like, oh guys, if you're doing this and you're making money, let's scale this shit. And he just just scaled the business and yeah. Just,
I think the like dynamic between like Ray Kroc and the like brothers was like interesting because I feel like they both had like these two like downfalls. Like the McDonald's brothers, they were kind of scared of like change and like of like loss of control, and like Ray Kroc had that like avarice thing, and I think that like under the right circumstances, if they both would have like put their differences aside, like both of them would have made like a lot of money.
That and like doing good negotiations, because like you said before, like they just did a handshake deal, and that is like super dangerous to do because it's like you don't know what you're getting into without knowing the details into what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do think that. I do think that the brothers got the short end of the stick, 100%.
But it's like due to their own like, they could have had like a better deal.
Had they had a lawyer or had they like actually thought like, oh, like I think they trusted in him too much, which you can't do. You have to always trust in yourself first and know what you're doing. Like you have to be detailed with what you're doing. Had they gotten a lawyer or maybe they negotiated things through an actual contract, they would have probably gotten a lot more.
All right, so let me ask you guys, because I see where you guys are coming from, and like. From your perspective, you guys don't like own a business. Oh. You guys are more like creative guys. You guys are really great with designs, like editing videos, cinematography, like that type of stuff. From your like perspective, what's your opinion on Ray Kroc? Like, what do you think? Do you think he took advantage of the situation? Do you think that he should have gone about it differently? Do you think that there was like, do you agree with his like way of like thinking when it came to business? Like, what do you guys think?
Honestly, like I think most people when they watch the movie, they'll instantly feel like Ray Kroc is like the bad guy of the movie and stuff. But I think that there's like a lot more like nuance to it. Like it's not just like one like villain like taking advantage of people. I think that like wanting to like make it bigger for your business to be like wildly successful like McDonald's is, like you need like that kind of guy to like be pushing it forward. But I think that the McDonald's brothers, they just weren't with it. Like they made their baby like too precious. Like they weren't willing to like let it go to like serve like more people. They were being like as much as like it sounds weird to say, like the McDonald's brothers were kind of being selfish because they were like only thinking about like their own creation and like their own like way of doing things, and that kind of like didn't allow them to grow. And then Ray Kroc came in and obviously like gave them some like pretty shitty deals and stuff, but I think it could have been avoided if like from the beginning they like realized that like capacity for growth, and like it was like a clashing of like frames, you know, like people like
I think the brothers had more of they wanted to keep it small, they wanted to keep it like quality over quantity, and these guys, Ray Kroc was just thinking of how can we grow this, how can we expand this, how can we generate more money, even if we have to sacrifice, you know, the milkshake. Instead of making it with milk, we were going to use this instant powder thing. Right.
I like that question that you asked because I think of it. I think as artists, as we both like have been and we know how it goes, I think we're more used to we're more familiarized with like the art of like sampling, I guess. Like in art, I think for you to make art, you have to be inspired by something. So you take from that and you add it to what you're doing now, which is like technically what he did there. I don't know if in the business world it's more like known to like not rip somebody off, but did he do that?
He did rip them off because like he ended up taking their name and like
okay, so rip off is a good word to use in this one. So yeah,
but I think there are like examples where like people are like inspired by like other businesses and they use like similar systems. I don't think that's wrong. I think it's like
it's a business sample. That's what it is.
I think the like market will like end up telling like who created the most value for them, and like if the market like agrees with it, then like I think it's a good like.
You sound like a capitalist.
Like a capitalist pig.
I do know that in Hollywood, it's a very known thing that like screenwriters have it the worst out of everybody because people take their writings, like they use it. Like if you submit the screenwriting to the script to somebody, they can take it, they can like write their own name on it. So it's like it's known in Hollywood that happens all the time. So
interesting.
Yeah, I think there's like a good balance between being inspired by something and like
Ripping something
completely
off.
like just taking it.
Can you guys identify with the brothers in the way that they wanted to make sure everything was perfect and they wanted to make sure that the quality was like to a standard? Because I think as artists, you're always like, oh, I think like this could be better. Like sometimes, and I know I've definitely spoken to Johnny about it. I haven't really spoken to Josh. But I know sometimes like Johnny has been like making music and he's like, oh, like I don't want to release it yet because I feel like there can still be like perfection, like more perfection, like you can perfect it more. So do you identify like with the brothers in any aspect? Like they were trying to make everything so perfect. They wanted the quality to be so good. Like they just didn't want to tarnish like their name,
Yeah.
How do you identify with that?
I think that I could definitely, I relate to them with getting that feeling, but the way that I treat the feeling and I like react to it, I think when I'm too focused on something being perfect, it diminishes how good the like execution is. Because if you never execute, like you're never putting out like anything.
You have to have a healthy balance. Yeah.
I understand the feeling, but I think that there needs to be like another feeling like above that of like,
you have to trust in your product. Like if you make a song, if you make a video, if you make anything like artistic or even in business, if you feel like it's good, like at the core of it, it's good, you have to trust in that and like grow upon it. Because if you focus on it too much, it's like, oh, maybe it really isn't that good, or maybe it's going to come out worse. Yeah.
But how often are you like, oh, I can make this better?
Like it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like it never stops. Like it's always like, bro, for the only time that I feel that like something is good is when I'm like on a song when I'm tired of mixing and I'm like, okay, let's drop this shit already. And then like 2 or 3 months later, you'll go back and be like, oh damn, I could have like switched this, I could have done this, I could have done that.
I like having you guys on my team because you guys are like, yeah, it can always be better.
Never stop thinking.
That's good. And always improving. So that's good.
But there's like a good balance between us.
That's true because I know, and from experience to the listeners and the viewers, there's been times where we're like, Johnny, you don't really do this too much anymore, but I remember like at the beginning,
like logos and shit,
we'd be like, yo, Johnny, we need something like fast, and you'd be there for like a whole day working on a logo, and we're like, yo, Johnny, we need this like yesterday, like what's going on? And you were just like, so I feel like you've gotten better at finding the balance between just good and over like perfecting something.
Yeah, I think like it's very possible for something to be like overworked, like you put like too much into it and it comes out like contrived almost, like you could tell that you're like overthinking it. And I think things when they're like simple, it's like a lot easier to manage and to also like scale it, I think that's something that the McDonald's brothers like did really well. Their like core system, their like foundation was like so stable, like because because their customer service, their like attention to it is what like put them like leagues ahead of like everybody else. And then like Ray Kroc came in and he like proliferated that, like he just spread it like everywhere.
Right.
I have a question. What was that this guy did? I didn't watch the movie. Like, did he come in? Like, what type of deal?
He was a real estate agent, so he knew all about real estate. He had no idea about business, just the real estate side.
Yeah.
He came to like different like fast food places, but this specific one, the McDonald's, the original McDonald's, which was two brothers, and like they invented this whole system. He came in and pretty much boosted everything they were doing and just made it more commercialized.
So what was the deal that he like?
So basically, like towards the end of it, like it's the McDonald's brothers kind of losing control on it because like they own the McDonald's name and brand, but what Ray Kroc did basically was he bought all of the land that the McDonald's like were on. So he was pretty much like leasing it to them at one point, and like they
didn't even know.
They had to pay him.
Yeah,
pretty much.
They had to pay him. Yeah.
But wouldn't they have stayed stagnant though if it wasn't for this guy?
For Ray Kroc?
Yeah.
They definitely wouldn't have grown as much.
Yeah. So the way that he pitched it to them, he was like, "Oh, guys, I'll handle everything. You guys will make money because you guys own the brand, you guys own the name, this and that. Just let me take your system and like put it in a bunch of different places." So what he did was, at first he was selling the franchise, like, oh, you guys can own your franchise and you can like have the system and it makes you money. But later he meets BJ Novak, the guy from The Office, and he meets him at the bank, whatever. He meets him at the bank, and the guy talks to him and he's like, "You're not in the fast food industry, you're in the real estate business." So then he's like, instead of just franchising these places to people. You should acquire the land that they're gonna be built on, and now you can like make money on owning the land for every single McDonald's. So he starts doing that. He makes his own company. He buys the land and then he franchises that land to the McDonald's, like every single franchised McDonald's that joins. So now he owns the land where all these McDonald's on. So essentially he kind of owns like all these McDonald's, like they all pay him. And then I don't think he tells the brothers, like the brothers, they just find out. They're like, oh, like what is this like corporation that we're paying money to? And and that Ray Kroc is like the owner, like who are we paying? And then he tells them, and they're like, oh, you did this behind our back, so we're like, we didn't agree to this, we're gonna sue you. And then he's like, oh, I mean, at this point he had already like a bunch of McDonald's, so he's like, oh yeah, sue me, like I'm national, you guys are local, you guys just have like one store. Like
he already had them checkmated, like by
yeah point. He's like, oh, if you guys sue me, like I'll just bury you in legal fees. Like literally like savage. And then the way that it ends up, they just agree to like settle. Basically, he writes him a check, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll pay you like what was
1%.
He said, I think he said, was it 1% or 10%?
Yeah, I think it was 1%.
He's like, I'll pay you 1% of profits from like like just like in total McDonald's.
That's probably more.
And it was a handshake deal. So like, so he ends up not paying them anything.
The brothers did get a percentage of the profits. The original deal was 1.9% of a franchisee's profits.
So they got
1.9.
They got none.
What do you mean?
I think in the movie they said he never paid them like the profits.
Wow.
I think the McDonald's brothers' innovation was making the system and making it streamlined, and his innovation was the whole franchising of like those like locations. So who deserves like more of the like of the share, like the people who came up with the system or the people who made the system like wide? And I think that's the like there's no answer to it, like,
right. Well, I mean, they both add value, right? If you look at it, you could say that the brothers got the short end of the stick because they came up with their system, and their system was on being used in every single franchise, and they were supposed to get paid like a certain percentage. I don't know what it was. I don't.
But without Ray Kroc, they would have gotten no stick. Like
right. So that's why they agreed to do the franchises in the first place, because they were gonna make more money, and their name was gonna go out there and all that stuff. But
they were they were holding on too much to their baby, and they didn't like.
Yeah, in a way, they were being selfish. They just didn't let it flourish.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's not fair.
They're closed off.
That's something that they like worked from the ground up, just to get them shafted for.
Well, you also got to be smart about what you're doing. They didn't think it through. Like they didn't think it like contract wise.
Then you gotta remember the time period also.
Yeah.
Like around this time, I don't think a lot of
business knowledge wasn't like.
Yeah. Like I think everyone was like, "Oh, handshake is like
a man's deal." Yeah.
You know, like
right.
They got reamed out of that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. What do you guys think is gonna be like the next McDonald's?
I don't know, because now there's so many specifics and everything is contracts now. Everything is contracts now. So I think it's gonna be a lot harder to do something like that. But in the sense of like how big it's gonna be as McDonald's, I don't know.
I was just gonna ask you guys, do you guys think that something like that would be harder to pull off in this day and age?
Yeah.
Like the shafting part, or the like
the success.
Yeah, the
like
success of it.
I think the shafting part.
I think the shafting is a lot harder just because of how like wide business information is, and it's like so like accessible. You can just like look shit up.
Does part of you guys think that these guys just they were like uninformed of like what was going on?
They were uninformed. They like weren't ready. Like they didn't have the like shark like mindset to be able to like deal with the actual like sharks in the business. You know.
Ray Kroc tenía chispa, como decimos nosotros. It's like the quickness of it, like the wittiness.
He was sly.
They were snoozing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did get fucked over though. Like there's no doubt that like Ray Kroc, if he was less of a shark, he probably would have given them a better deal and like been considerate of their like efforts. But I think that's not something that you could count on as the McDonald's brothers. Like it's business. Like
it's not personal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's using their name to this day, bro.
Well, yeah.
You know why he used it, right? because he said like Crocs doesn't sound as good as McDonald's. Like
Yeah.
we're keeping it straight up. He was just he's right though.
Yeah, at the end of the
massive.
movie,
The sandals?
at the end of the movie, one of the brothers is talking to Ray Kroc, and he's like, but we showed you our process. We showed you our we're an open book. So why didn't you just start your own like your own thing? And then he goes, Crocs just doesn't sound as good as McDonald's.
McDonald's sounds American.
Yeah.
And it's
So yeah, that movie's good. I highly encourage people to watch it if they haven't already done so.
In an alternate universe where Ray Kroc starts Crocs.
Ooh.
Dude, isn't it crazy though how like I don't know if it talks about it in the movie, but I read it somewhere where they're like the colors red and yellow literally make you want to eat. Like
They talk about the arches.
The breasts, that they represent breasts, and that makes you want to like.
Wait, they said that?
Yeah.
No,
Not in the movie, but I know I've read it somewhere.
Oh, he just says like he calls it the arches. I forget why.
It's because like before McDonald's, like it used to be this like almost like hole in the wall on like this like busy highway, so they needed a way to like mark it, and those golden arches, like you could instantly like tell like what it is. I'm not really sure of the psychology behind it. Like I don't know about the whole like Freudian like titty thing.
That
But,
you
like,
know
That's what I heard.
but there's always that thing. It's funny because there's always that thing that like in hindsight people are like, oh, this logo they made it like this because of that. And
yeah.
I think partially it's just like they just came up with a logo, and then people after it's like the armchair like quarterbacking, or like what's the they call it like
What's confirmation bias?
like the next like
You're
when
saying
you
that
when,
it worked after it already
yeah when
worked.
you're looking at stuff in retrospect, people are like, oh, like they should have done this and they should have done that, but like in the time like no one knew anything, right? So I think that there's probably a little bit of that they just came up with the logo and it stuck, you know.
But there was some marketing like genius to the logo, because like it just made them so visible to like anybody, and like it implanted that like symbol in your head, so that whenever you see that symbol, I don't think that the like actual like psychology behind the colors or the shape like matters. I think what matters is that people they create the association. Like it's not building on like, you could build on like associations that are already there, but if you're not creating that, like you're not going to get people to relate the golden arches to like quick good food, you know.
Right. So, and I know we were talking about the founder, but like this actually took an interesting turn. You guys as creatives, how much of your creative process do you guys think it's like you're looking at like psychology and stuff like that? Because I don't necessarily think that a logo is better or worse as long as it's like clean and you can understand what it is. I don't think it's better or worse. I think it's just, you know, once a brand gets like out there and they get like authority and people know what it is, then it's like, yeah, like that's why they know what it is. They don't know it because of the logo. Like they don't know it. Like you just saw a logo somewhere, you wouldn't be like, oh, like I identify
The
with
green
that.
signifies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just like after the fact that people are like, oh, like that brand got so big because of their logo.
There's some like subliminal stuff to it, definitely, that'll like make you more attracted to a logo. But I remember like reading
like the golden ratio. Like, do you guys think?
Oh, I think that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like,
because that's like scientific and that's like mathematical. That's a whole other
like
thing.
think about it. Like humans are pattern beings. Like we like recognize patterns, and like if something is out of the pattern, we see it as like weird. So the golden ratio is just like a ratio that's found throughout nature. So like designing stuff like that will make it feel like more natural, like makes it feel in place. But I think when it comes to the
creative side,
I saw this one video, or like this one like person who said that like the goal of a logo is not to be like creative and to like be quirky. It's to differentiate yourself from
I agree.
like everything else and to be recognizable.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree,
that's the only thing that makes a logo good.
Right.
Like as long as you could like see the logo and be like, oh, that's this.
Right.
Like, bro, when you see FedEx, like you don't look at the arrow like between the, like E and the X until somebody told you, right?
Right.
But like you always recognize the logo and you know that it's FedEx.
Right.
So like,
I think if you apply psychological things, it's a cool tidbit. Like it's a cool. Oh, look, that would be
it's
cool.
the icing.
Or music or art or anything like that. Like when you notice it, it's like, oh, he did that on purpose. Like it's really cool, but it's not necessary. It's cool, but it's not like
It's for like
necessary.
other like logo.
Yeah.
makers to, like, be like, damn, that's pretty cool.
That's a nice logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. All right, guys. I don't know how long we've been going, but I think
Probably like close to 20.
I
I'm
actually
gonna stand up like an old man again.
yeah. Josh will go check the time. If we still have time, I want to ask you guys something else.
Yeah, 30.
We're at 30, so the cameras are off. All right, well,
Ask me whatever you want.
so we're still gonna record it. I actually have a question for you guys, and I guess Johnny can start, and then Josh, when he gets back, he can answer as well. If you guys had a piece of advice for someone who's just starting, like in design or like in like video editing or whatever like part of, you know, the creative aspect that it is what you guys do, what type of advice would you give those people? And one of you guys could go first. And someone who's just starting off, they don't really know where to begin.
I think just keep working on it. If you keep doing the same thing all the time. If I can compare myself to before and after I got this job, I've been editing so much faster. Like, because I would edit every now and then because it wasn't something like consistent. But this is every day that I'm editing something. And I've gotten so much like more familiarized with the shortcuts and better cuts. And you can even see it through the YouTube videos. Like, little by little, they're all getting better. So I guess advice is just familiarize yourself with like everything and just keep doing it every day. I think that's with everything. Like the 10,000 hours. I mean,
I think if you get an opportunity to like put yourself in a position where you're like constantly doing that thing, that's like the best thing you could possibly do. Just keep on like doing it, and it's not that deep. Like just you just need to like go and like do it, and like eventually like you're gonna progress. Like, and not all rates of progress are like the same. Like, just because you've been doing something for like a year and somebody's been doing it for 5 doesn't mean you can't get like better. Like, go at your own pace and compare your journey to like what you were yesterday instead of comparing yourself to your competition.
Right.
And enjoy the process as well.
Yeah. And would you recommend people like that they want to start with, I'm gonna say like editing like Photoshop, because I think that's like one of the more common things. Would you just recommend for them to like get Photoshop and just start messing around with it?
Around with it, yeah. I'm not even that experienced in Photoshop, and I do an okay job with most things. It's just like, you know, finding the little tidbits in every like, I guess, control that let's say Photoshop has. You just familiarize yourself, and then you apply it to something else that you work on like later on in the future.
I do think I have something though. If it doesn't leave my head right now.
Because I was gonna say also like any resource that you guys would recommend.
Oh, resource.
Yeah, like maybe like a YouTube channel or like a Instagram page that you guys follow or something like.
The Future. Big recommendation. Love those guys. That's
the IG page.
That's a big one for me. Yeah, that's the one that I keep showing you, the like carousels.
Oh yeah. Like Johnny does all the carousels, and he like absolutely.
I love those people.
He fanboys over the Future.
Oh my God.
I mean, you just literally type anything you want on YouTube and it's gonna come up for you. Like, oh, how do I edit? Like, how do I make my head bigger?
Yeah,
it's gonna come out.
Have you been searching that, Josh?
Yeah. Don't tell anybody. That's what I do on my Instagram.
I think for people who are starting off designing, also something that could be hard, like designing just for yourself, because like you never know when to stop. And I think something that really helped me with this job is having design like with a purpose, like with like a goal to it. I think that'll like make you not only like make stuff that's more like cohesive, but it'll also give you like a deadline that's like really important. If you want to get a job like doing creative stuff, you're gonna have to learn to work with other people.
Got it. All right, that's dope. I think we're gonna go ahead and end it here. This went from the founder to synopsis to then talking about editing and creative stuff. So this podcast had a little bit of everything.
This is actually my first time on the podcast.
Same.
My first time in front of the.
Is it really?
Same.
Yep.
You're always behind the scenes, Josh too. So you guys are here, but
making
I guess
the debut,
on the camera.
The debut.
I still got a hoodie on. Can't be completely exposed though.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys enjoyed about it, what you guys didn't. These podcasts, these episodes are always changing every day. We take feedback extremely personal, it's extremely important for us. So we always try to accommodate for what people like. So if you guys are listening, make sure you like, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to.
Hit the notification bell or we'll find you.
Yeah, what Johnny said. Johnny doesn't like, he hates editing these and then people don't view it, you know? So make sure
That's
that
why
you.
I'll edit it now. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'll do the edits.
So every Monday podcast, every Friday we got a YouTube video dropping. So all right, guys. Thank you for watching. Love you. Bye bye. Pee pee.
Besitos.